When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite, obey your thirst.
When evaluating potential hires for your small business, it's essential you look beyond resumes. Sure, a candidate may appear impressive on paper, but understanding the person is crucial. LinkedIn, the world's largest professional network, provides a complete view of your candidate's skills, experiences, and interests. With LinkedIn's up-to-date data, you can be confident that you really know who you're hiring. Post your free job at linkedin.com/achieve. That's linkedin.com/achieve. Terms and conditions apply.
Dr. Raj.
Dr. Raj. Dr. Raj Dasgupta.
The most interesting pulmonologist in the world.
Welcome to the Dr. Raj Podcast, a show all about empowering knowledge, addressing difficult topics, raising awareness, and being positive. Dr. Raj is a quadruple board-certified physician, associate professor of clinical medicine, and the associate program director of internal medicine residency. He was a co-host on the TNT series Chasing the Cure with Ann Curry, as well as a regular on the TV show The Doctors. And now, here's our show.
Hi, and welcome to the Dr. Raj Podcast. I'm Becca Spahr, excited to be back hosting another episode. If you've ever moved, whether it was just on the road or to a different continent completely, you've had to build belonging in a new place. Today, we will be talking about all that entails, how to navigate all the challenges associated with it, and the ways you can build belonging anywhere in the world. Ananya Mody is our guest. She is the founder of The Belonging Way, which is a relocation consulting practice that helps people moving abroad to align their goals and lifestyle needs, and then coaching them through building community and belonging in their new locations. She is a Netflix-produced screenwriter, an International Coaching Federation certified travel coach, and a free will first astrologer, with a load of experience in cross-cultural living because she has done it herself so many times. Ananya, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Becca. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad that we get to connect again. We have what I think people call a meet cute, which is when you're familiar with this term. Yeah, the funny story of how you met. We met in a chat for a webinar. Yeah, and I heard what you were talking about, and you had written some notes, and I was like, I gotta talk to her.
Oh, thank you so much for reaching out then. I'm glad we got to connect. And your story is incredible too. It's so nice to meet people from all across the world who've had these unique experiences. So I'm really thankful for that.
I think what really attracted me to your work as a relocation coach is that I myself have moved a lot. I tallied it up. I've moved 26 times in my life. Wow. And most of that was because of my work in the military. But that's what made me want to hear what you had to say and also share that with our listeners, because everybody either, has moved or will move at some point in their life. So first, I want to get an idea of what you do in your practice, because I don't think a lot of people know what relocation coaching is. Can you tell me about what you do?
Absolutely. So when I talk about relocation coaching, I don't get into the heavy logistics of it, such as moving your furniture or your dog and things like that, though I can absolutely connect people to more experienced coaches in that segment. But what I help you do is root emotionally where you are and feel like you actually belong there, like this is your new home, that you have people you can reach out to, that the space doesn't feel unfamiliar anymore, that your past doesn't feel like this dream, but it feels like something you're carrying with you to share with the new place and people you're in, and that you're able to rewire your mind and your brain to adapt to this new location and to the people, to the culture. It's not just about learning the language, it's about developing this true sense of safety within and without.
Right, because if we don't have that sense of safety is really what it is, that the safety and the feeling like you have support within the community, it's really hard to focus on whatever it is you're there for, right? Your work, or maybe if you're there in a caregiving capacity, how do it's hard to focus when you don't have those basic elements met. So, Ananya, when you talk about building a sense of belonging in a new place, I want to unpack that a little bit. Can you tell me how you would define belonging, and then what you mean when you say building a sense of belonging?
Absolutely. So when I talk about belonging, I talk about accepting all parts of yourself unconditionally, giving it love, support, visibility, and not just you accepting it yourself, but the world around you giving you that acceptance too, that you are valid just the way you are. Because especially when you move town, city, country, continent, you are taking with you your past. So you have your sociocultural conditioning, you have the people from your past, the experiences that have shaped you. But then you move to this new world and maybe it's completely different. Even a new town in the same country can bring you completely different experiences, right? And that subconsciously influences the way you think. It changes the way you view the world because now, because you've moved, I'm assuming you're more open to seeing the world around you and taking in what works for you or you think is novel and interesting. But that process, oh, it's hard. You feel like you're in this sense of like in the middle of this flux and you don't know who you are. And in this rebuilding of who you are, in this re-recognition of who you are, you need a sense of complete acceptance from within and without. And that is belonging.
That's such a place. It's a place where it's like there's two paths to choose. You can really embrace it and think this is a great opportunity. I'm going to see new things and meet new things or meet new people and do things. Or you can stay in a more of a fearful place where you don't know what to expect. There's a lot coming at you. Oftentimes you're moving internationally, especially you're even like homeless for a little while because all your belongings, your belongings are one place or the other, right? So even just that like comfort of having a place to be your own, you don't have. So how do you work through that in terms of like embracing it in a positive way versus allowing the more negative mindset to take over?
I think what's important is figuring out a sense of balance, because harking back to the two paths that you described, you can be really optimistic and positive and see this as a new opportunity, or you can be fearful. And I think you need to make space for both of those. Because when I moved to Mexico the last time, I moved with this great sense of optimism that, yes, everything's going to be great. I've done this before. I know how to do this. And the reality was that it was quite hard. And I think because I was on such a high, I went down to such a low because I'm like, oh no, I expected it to go one way and it's gone another way. So it's about being cautiously optimistic that you can expect great things, but you're also human. And it's human to fear. It's human to want comfort. It's human to want to be seen and accepted for who you are. And it's okay to feel bad when you don't get that. Like you shouldn't beat yourself up for not immediately making progress. So I'd say that's one thing you have to look into when you're moving. And the second thing is, which has really helped me, is getting really clear on why you're moving and what the purpose is behind it. So your goal and your why. So especially if you're being relocated and you're not making this choice, it's not voluntary. You need to go in there with a sense of purpose. So otherwise, two things happen. Either you get really overwhelmed because there's all this new stimuli. You're like, okay, I'm going to go out to this dinner. I'm going to go to this hike and there's this activity. And you're like, I'm going to meet people there. You go into this absolute sense of overwhelm. Or there's the other kind of overwhelm where you get paralyzed and you shut down. So understanding why you've moved, what your goals are. Like a few years ago, I moved to California for a few months to work on an organic farm. And it was like 180 from my life in Bombay, which was, working in a corporate office and, pressure, pressure, pressure. So when I moved to this farm, I knew my goal was to connect with new people. That was really important to me. And why? Because I really wanted to embrace an alternative lifestyle. So that kept me going. So I wasn't thinking about, oh, there's San Francisco nearby and I want to go like see everything, do everything there. No, my purpose was to connect with other people who like to get their hands in the soil and slow down and work with nature. So I think that's really important to do when you're building a sense of belonging.
It sounds like preparation is really a key here, because if you can think ahead to what, like you said, what your purpose is once you move and what you're going to be experiencing, and think about what goals you have, that can help to ease your mind maybe about, I know for me, like the fear of unexpected is usually what it all boils down to. Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
For sure.
But you're saying if you take some time to kind of prepare and think through that, it can be helpful. What other ways, or what other things can you do to prepare yourself mentally, physically, as you're, coming up on a big move?
Well, to begin with, I'd say you really need to figure out your values and what is the kind of life you want to build around that. So if you value slowness and ambition and courage, now you know what you're looking for in this new life. And then I think what's important is figuring out the culture of the place you're going to, because that's going to determine the gap between where you are and what you want and what you're getting. And you have to go in with your eyes open, right? Otherwise, you're going to be hit with, and I've done this several times. I've moved going on, people are people, I'll figure this out. And it's like, okay, well, people are people, but they're different people.
Yeah. And that, to be clear, that's not only that cultural difference, the culture shock isn't something that you experience only moving from country to country. As you said, it can be even within one country or even the same town. There can be different cultures.
Definitely. You could be moving from one part of the city to the other, and depending on the socioeconomic culture of that place, you just will or will not connect with people easily. So, doing your research is...
No, that's exactly what I was going to ask. What like resources do you use to research that ahead of time?
Well, honestly, one of my biggest resources, and this is going to sound funny, but is Reddit and Facebook.
Huh. Okay. Tell me more. What do you get from that?
I think on Reddit, you get every possible perspective, so you know what to prepare yourself for. And Facebook, even though, everyone says, oh, it's this outdated platform where no one really is, everyone's on there. Like, if you're looking for furniture, you're looking for apartments, you're looking for friends. Like, one of the first friends I made in Mexico City was a girl on a group called Girls Gone International Mexico City. And we went for a yoga class together. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. She's like, I want to go get a coffee and do a yoga class. Is anyone interested? And I'm like, she doesn't seem like an axe murderer. Let's just go ahead. And we're still really good friends, and she's a support system for me. When I had earplugs stuck in my ear on Christmas Day last year, long story, she came with me to the hospital to get it extracted.
Yeah, well, you have to have those people around you, your social circle, your social support, wherever you are. Because the one I always think of is like, well, I need to know someone well enough that I can ask them to take my trash down to the curb on trash day if I'm not at home. It's like everybody needs that person, or you need a ride to the airport, or you need somebody to go with you to the hospital. But that's really hard for a lot of people to find when they already struggle with connection and like making friends or being putting themselves out there, putting themselves in places where they might make friends. Do you have any pointers for how you can do that, especially when you're kind of in this like alone and afraid scenario where you're in a new place and you don't know anybody?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So the first thing I try to figure out is what kind of friendship situation or social situation are you comfortable in? Like for me, I'm a big introvert and I do not like group settings. So it gives me a lot of anxiety. I feel the need to like prove myself. So what I do is I go onto these groups and I reach out individually and I create things that are within your comfort zone and see who reaches out given those constraints. For example, if you want to stay within a given area, it's perfectly fine to do that. If you want to get coffee with someone and not a drink because you don't want to drink with someone you've just met, perfectly fine, do that. Set those boundaries, and as long as they're with good intention, you'll draw the right people in most of the time. And the second is don't have hope, but it's okay to know that this will take some time. It is making friends is a lot like dating. And it's in fact higher stakes because dating comes with a certain set of like rules and expectations, but friendships are just expected to stay in your life forever.
Yes.
So, right? So you need to give it a longer runway, give it time to form, and know that you will be a little lonely in that process. And that's okay. How can you be your best friend during that time too? As cheesy as this sounds, you have to be a little intentional about creating that space for yourself while creating it for others in your life.
That makes me think about all these different scenarios where you might be finding yourself in a new place. And one of the things that a lot of people do is go away to school. So you're oftentimes young, maybe in a new place, maybe you really don't know anybody or you just know a handful of people.
Yeah.
When you're very inexperienced, like it's your kind of first time away from home, do you see things in your practice that are unique challenges to people that are in that situation as opposed to people who have had more life experience?
Oh, definitely. Yes. When people are doing this for the first time, what I see amongst my clients and what the mistakes I made myself were that, like I said earlier, was that sense of overwhelm where I did everything. Like I moved to Barcelona that was the first time I moved away by myself. And I knew a grand total of 0 people. I spoke maybe 5 words of Catalan or Spanish put together. And I decided to enroll myself in a paddle game, despite playing 0 paddle and having no backhand. It was, and these people took the game seriously. I thought, it's 4 girls, we'll be fine. It'll be fun. It was amateur level. It was not amateur level. So I think the mistake you make is just grabbing at any olive branch that you find. You're like, okay, maybe I can do this and I'll meet people. Maybe I can do that and meet people. Or the other thing you end up doing is just getting a bunch of frozen pizza and sitting in your room all day.
Yeah, so you have to be comfortable being alone, like you said. Yeah, but there's a balance, and obviously there's so many studies out there that say having community and people who you feel like you can count on are better. It makes your mental health better, your physical health, all of that. You have I want to switch gears a little bit here, but you have a concept that you refer to as your culture of one. And I think that's kind of what we're getting into here. So can you explain that to me a little bit more?
Sure, I'd love to. So when I talk about culture of one, it's your personal culture. It's brought in not just from the culture you've been raised in or the cultures you've experienced, but your personal take and lens on different things, your values. Because, for example, I'm Indian. I've grown up in India, but I focus more on, I value community more than I do the individual family unit. Whereas in India, family and extended family always takes precedence over community and your friends.
Okay.
So that becomes part of my personal culture, not part of the culture in which I belong, and it creates a gap. So creating this personal culture is really important when you're moving. I almost always advise my clients to write it down, because when you're lost and you need to come back to who you are, you refer to it over and over again. And how do you determine what your personal culture is? So, you look at your values, right? What kind of life do I want to build? And who is going to be part of that? What is going to be part of that? And you map that across 4 main pillars of your life, which are important to create belonging. And I call them the 4 P's of belonging. It's the pattern, which is who you are inside, the defense mechanisms, your thought processes, your ideas, the way you view the world. The second thing is the place. What do you want out of a place to be able to thrive? Do you need a lot of nature? Do you need it to be buzzing? Do you need a good food scene? Do you want a lot of quiet? Is that important to you? And the next thing are people. People make the place really important. But when, again, you have to cast your friend groups based on your values. So coming back to values over and over again, like what do you want them to embody in your life? What do you want the people around you to bring to your life? Do you want to be inspired? Do you want to have support? Do you want to see people who are courageous to motivate you? And what do they do? Like, how do you cast them? Like, you've got this friend group where everyone has this shared value system, which you really appreciate. But some friends are your brunch friends. Some are your hiking friends. So those are your needs. So what needs do you have out of yourself socially? Like, you have come sit on the couch and cry with me, friend. So
hopefully you do.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last one is your past. So you have to look at things from your past, which either still resonate with you and you want to carry into this new world, which is part of your personal culture, but not part of maybe the culture of the new place, or things that you've kind of understood from your new culture and adapted to and brought into your life, which no longer align with who you were in your past. And how can you grieve that and let that go? So these 4 elements combined, when mapped against your values, will tell you what your personal culture is, your culture of one.
Now, what if that's phenomenal? And I wish that people used, such a structured method to make, to make any decision in life, or to start out on like a new endeavor, whether it's a move or like a new job or whatever, thinking through those things. But what happens when you think about, okay, like I sat down, I did what Ananya told me to do, and I wrote all this down, and I've got all my P's of belonging. What if what you want and value is very different? There's a big gap between that and then what your reality is.
Yeah, that's definitely a jarring experience. I think we've all felt that, not just while moving, but even while going from like your home to your office space, if the cultures are completely different.
Oh, yeah.
So the first thing you do is kind of accept the fact that it is happening. So living in denial is not a great idea, and living in fear is also not a great idea. So what you have to say it out loud and make it a reality. Because there's a study, right, that shows that when you say your fears out loud, it goes from your reptilian brain to your prefrontal cortex, and then you can process it. Your mind is able to make sense of it. So it's not just a fear that's stuck in your body anymore. It's a fear that can now be acted upon to make change. So that's really important to do. And after you do that, I think once you've assessed that there's a gap, you have to create a stopgap arrangement, because no change can be made from a sense of fear and threat and lack of safety. So if, for example, a big part of your personal culture is going out with your friends for lunch on Saturdays, and you don't have friends yet and it's proving to be hard, what can you do that will connect you to people? Could you volunteer maybe? So you're kind of forcing yourself on people who need you, and you also need them. Could you have phone calls set up with people from back home who can give you comfort in the meantime? So that's really important to do. And once you have a sense of safety and your nervous system is a little calm, I think what's important is building self-trust that things will change now. And self-trust is built in 2 ways. A, you start making a plan. Okay, so I know it's hard to make friends here. So I'm going to identify my interests that align with my values, and I'm going to go to maybe 4 events a week instead of 2, because it's a numbers game and I need to find the right people. And it might seem a bit obvious, but what I've noticed is that people or the way life is structured, the way our systems are structured, they don't let us make time for community, for belonging. We're always focused on, okay, we need to work, or there's our family, or things like that. But feeling at home with your place, feeling at home with the people around you, do we actively make time for it? Or is it just something we hope will fall into place, So we don't leave things up to chance. And the second thing to build self-trust is to not abandon yourself, even if the cultural gap is big. So you have to do what's important to you with good intention. For example, when I worked on that farm in California, one of the girls working with me was Danish. So at first I was terrified of her. Scandinavians are so confident and, they have this way about them that I absolutely admire. But back then I was also a bit like, oh my God, how am I ever going to get through to her? And I know that they take time to open up to you and stuff like that. So what I did was something that's absolutely outside the norms of Scandinavian culture, but I had some sweets from home, Indian sweets. So I went and I knocked on her tent during her personal time, which was, and her tent was zipped up. But I still did that. And she was kind of taken aback to see me there. But I just offered her sweets. I'm like, here, from India, do you want to try some? And she was taken aback yet again. She's like, okay, I wasn't expecting this. But this time it was in a good way, right? So even though it was different, didn't come from her culture, she could see that the intentions were good behind it. And so she entertained me and we developed a great friendship. And a few years later, I went to Denmark and I saw her there and things worked out. So you have to bet on yourself a little bit. Bet on yourself, take the risk, and that will develop self-trust.
Yeah, putting yourself out there is such a huge piece of it that I think because our culture is very introspective right now, where people are on devices a lot, where there's not as much face-to-face communication, just because of the way that the world is, it makes it harder and harder to feel comfortable taking those risks. Yeah. And so, in fact, I was talking about this not long ago with some other women and saying, we know that it is good for us mentally and physically to have connections, to have friends, to be surrounded by community. And yet our brain chooses to just sit at home on the couch and look at our phones, even when we have the chance.
Yeah.
So how do you, and what are your thoughts on that?
I think when you are in that situation, when you really want to sit on the couch, you have to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, is this out of laziness or is this out of fear? Because I did this just last evening where I had to go out and I couldn't get myself to. I hadn't slept well. I knew we were recording this podcast and I wanted to be well rested. And I was meeting some new people. So, and I asked myself, I'm like, are you just tired and feeling lazy and you don't want to go? And that's okay. You can honor your need for rest. Or are you scared because you're going to be in a big group, you're not comfortable in big groups? Are you avoiding it? And sometimes while you have to put yourself out there, you need to also acknowledge, you need to be aware of why you're doing it. So once you bring that out, again, I love talking about the neuroscience behind this, where again, it's from that sense of fear from your reptilian brain to your prefrontal cortex, that you can view it at a distance. You're like, okay, I am scared. What can I do to bring myself more comfort in this situation? Okay, who's going to be there in this group if I'm scared to go to this big group? Maybe I can talk to one person instead of three. I don't need to interact with everyone. Okay, I can set a time limit that if 1 hour into the conversation, I still feel excluded or I'm not comfortable, I can go home. I tried. I'm proud of myself. So understand what brings you comfort and give yourself that. It's like when you teach your kids a math problem and there's an incremental level of difficulty. It's not always okay, we are dividing a 7-figure number by a 5-figure number now. It's no, you divide 12 by 3 and then you divide 15 by 6,
One step at a time.
One step at a time, yeah. So that's what you do to yourself. You say, okay, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to take a risk, but I'm also going to create safety.
So going back to your story with the Danish girl, you must have felt some fear in that situation and you pushed through it. But what if your offer of sweets from India had backfired and she had, forcefully zipped up her tent and sent you away?
I would have cried in a corner for days.
Oh.
No. Yeah, I mean, that would have been my first reaction, obviously, to be like taken aback and thought, that's so rude. How can you do that? What were you even thinking? And hated myself for taking the risk.
Mm-hmm.
But also, let's look at the value behind doing something new or taking a risk like this. It shows courage. It shows open-mindedness. It shows wanting to share things. And these are important values to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the people in my life, I want them to share these values. Otherwise, I can't connect with you. If I'm used to sharing my food, if I cook something and I go to your house, I'm going to take 2 boxes of food, not one, so that both of us can eat, And if it doesn't align, it doesn't align. It's a sign. And that's what you have to see it for. Like, people are always giving you information. And information comes with emotions attached. But once you get over those emotions and you can see it objectively for what it is, you can make a decision based on that without feeling too bad or too sad.
Ananya, these are fantastic just observations and tips that anybody can apply, even when it's not relocating, but maybe just starting a new job where you already live, or starting in a new school or something like that, where you feel like you are in a position to make connections, but there's fear. So yeah. I appreciate so much that you've taken some of your time to share this with us. I feel like every time we email or talk, you're in a different country or state. You're really on the go, and it's very brave of you to live like that.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts on advice you have to give, or just anything that jumps out that you think our listeners would get something out of?
If you've made the decision to relocate, and just know that you're brave, because even to come to that decision point, it takes a lot. Most people won't even consider it. They will brush it aside. So now, can you actually assimilate, integrate, find a sense of belonging? Yes, you can, because you've already done the hardest thing. So don't doubt yourself. When you choose to relocate to a new place, you're going to be facing so many new things that you're going to become unbreakable. So remember that, let that fuel you, and know that you can do whatever comes your way.
That's great. Thank you, Ananya. Thank you for being with us today on the Dr. Raj podcast. I know that our listeners will get a lot out of this. If you have gotten something out of this and you want to follow Ananya on social media, I'll make sure that we put all of her handles in the show notes. And you can also go to her website, thebelongingway.com, so that you can find more information about her and her practice. Ananya, thank you again, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Becca.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Dr. Raj podcast. If you enjoy the show, then please make sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app and leave a rating while you're there. This show is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. This has been a production of MedPrep2Go, and you can learn more at medprep2go.com.